welcome to SVG-TV News for Friday, July 20th, 2018. I'm Yvette Bowens with the details. Local and regional legal practitioners were at one in their call for this country and others in the region to accede to the appellate jurisdiction of the Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ. This as St. Vincent and the Grenadines hosted a special sitting of the CCJ today at the High Court to honor Vincentian-born Justice Adrian Saunders, who was this month sworn in as the court's new president. Members of the legal fraternity from across the region spoke at today's event praising Justice Saunders for his work as a legal luminary and expressed confidence that he will continue his excellent work as president of the court. Prime Minister Dr. Alvin Salves, Speaker of the House of Assembly Jomo Thomas, and veteran lawyer Parnell Campbell were among those who spoke at the sitting and questioned why countries across the region shy away from acceding to the court in its appellate jurisdiction. The three lawyers agreed that the best way to honor Justice Saunders' appointment as president was to have the CCJ as the final court of the countries of CARICOM.
So many persons from another civilization, presumably better. But where's that presumption? If they're better, I shouldn't be the Prime Minister. We should have a Governor General running St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I'm around now as Prime Minister for 17 and a half years. I haven't spoken to a judge about any decision, or magistrate. And as far as I'm aware, none of my three predecessors in St. Vincent and Grenadines has done that. Where does this inferiority come from? Where does this fear come from?
As President of the Caribbean Court of Justice, I expect Justice Saunders to be his normal self. He has been and remain profoundly simple, but there is more to the man. Justice Saunders is simply profound. We demand no less of him as he takes on this new task as President of the Caribbean Court of Justice. My friend, we expect you to continue to make good law. Thank you.
To join with the government in bringing St. Vincent and the Grenadines into the appellate jurisdiction of this court in the earliest possible time. Justice Saunders has one non-renewable 7-year term. It would be a travesty and indeed a betrayal were he to come to the end of his term with his own still having rejected his court.
The former late president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, has been hailed as a visionary, an internalist, and a political leader who steered his country towards a path of peaceful coexistence of its citizens. Prime Minister Dr. Alvin Salves summarized Mandela thus as he delivered the main address at a ceremony to officially name the South Leeward Highway after the South African icon. Dr. Gonzalez said that President Mandela has been given many labels, including that of terrorist, but his legacy is something from which many rich lessons can be learned.
The white population supporting apartheid was 20% of the population. It wasn't 2% or 5%, you know. It required a particular kind of approach. I want to say this, and you can interpret that in relation to St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the Caribbean and my own settled view. Class struggle in certain circumstances can take you to a revolutionary upsurge and to a new society. A class struggle can also take you to a higher level, not through a cataclysmic revolutionary upsurge, but through gradualism. But there's also another alternative. Class struggle can bring all the contending classes to a common ruin. And when you mix it, the class struggle, with either ethnic identification or whether it is sections of the population motivated by race, it can very easily bring all those who are struggling, all the contending ethnic groups and classes, all the contending racial groups to a common ruin. And Mandela was able, after 28 years, to figure out the situation and embark on a particular path.
The Prime Minister rebutted the arguments of persons who have used various fora, including social media, to object to the naming of the South Hollywood Highway after President Mandela, who would have turned 100 on Wednesday of this week had he lived. He pointed out that the objectors seem to overlook that across SVG, there are several relics of colonial domination in the surnames of persons, things, and places in the built and natural environment. The Prime Minister noted that he was not advocating the elimination of those names, such as Murray's Village and Port Elizabeth, but urged that Vincentians need not be that parochial in their approach to the matter.
When we drive here, we must remember reconciliation, unity, forgiveness, commitment to certain ideals, to an African renaissance and inspiration. That's what we are talking about here.
Throwing out the question, where do we go from here? Dr. Gonzalez said that he has been taking steps intended to lead to greater levels of connectedness between countries of this region, Latin America, and the African continent.
I had a meeting with all the ambassadors from last week, from Cuba, from Africa and the Caribbean in Cuba. And one of the suggestions I made to them is that they together establish what we call the ABC Commission, an Africa, Brazil, and Caribbean Commission. And by Caribbean, I mean all the countries washed by the Caribbean Sea, which would include Venezuela, which would include also Mexico, every country which is washed. Colombia itself too, because there's a Colombian coast, washed by the Caribbean Sea. Why I ask that? Africa has 1 billion people. Africa is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. We have to be able to make a proper set of bonds and links, people-to-people links, business, and the like.
Meanwhile, South Africa's High Commissioner, Ambassador Ngwavela, expressed gratitude to the government and people of SVG for honoring Mr. Mandela. Speaking at yesterday's ceremony, the High Commissioner pointed out while apartheid has been defeated, there are new faces of racism and other challenges which have emerged, so the fight is not yet over. And she urged the people of SVG to stay the course.
Places. This is not about simply remembering Madiba. It's about embedding the history in our mind and to embed history for generations to come. For your children and my children and great-great-great-great-grandchildren to remember who Nelson Mandela was. When they say we're going up the Nelson Mandela Highway And the kids would ask, by the way, who is Nelson Mandela? And you are able to tell the story of social justice, the struggle against apartheid, struggle against racism, the struggle for the equality of women. He was very big on that. The struggle for cultural rights and the rights and freedoms of all people.
The approximately 5-mile stretch of road that has been named in honor of President Mandela runs from the gas station at Pembroke to the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. A raft of operations and internal systems changes at the St. Vincent Port Authority may have helped that entity to capture the 2017 award for the most improved port at a recent meeting of Caribbean ports in Jamaica. The SVG Port Authority received the Nova Port Award from among the 16 members of the Port Management Association of the Caribbean at its 21st annual general meeting, which was held in Jamaica, moving from its second place position for the years 2015 and 2016. A release stated that the award was given for the port's improvements based on comparative cargo volumes, operational efficiency, standards and best practices over the performance of the previous year. It placed second to Antigua for the Caribbean Maritime University's award for being the port that dedicated the most revenue and time to training its personnel for the period. The CEO, Bishen John, praised his staff for their combined efforts, which meshed with effective corporate governance to enable the SVG Port Authority to stand out from the others. And Chairman of the Board, Clayton Bergin, who accepted the award, emphasized the importance of managers appreciating the work of their staff. The port in its release said that it has been focusing on improving the organization's culture and efficiency and has made a number of policy changes. It is in the final stages of developing a terminal operation system that would result in a seamless transfer of information between the port and the Customs and Excise Department that would see improvements in the clearance of cargo and data collection. The St. Vincent Electricity Services Limited (VINLEC) is undertaking an assessment of its pole infrastructure with the safety of users and the general public in mind. This is being done through a week-long hands-on training program that has been examining utility pole restoration and pole wrapping, involving 18 members from its transmission and distribution department. VINLEC's transmission and distribution engineer with responsibility for maintenance and construction, Mitra Malcolm, told an SVG-TV news team today that the company uses over 27,000 poles to distribute electricity, and the wood can be susceptible to fungal and termite attacks, which, if not addressed, can lead to problems for users and the public.
So basically what we have done is to employ the services of Osmos out of the United States to train our staff in how to carry out proper inspections, how to carry out proper maintenance to prolong the life of these poles and make it safe for everybody involved. Right? At the end of the day, our poles will be safer for our employees, for the joint users employees, for the general public.
Malcolm said the company is also to improve efficiency and reduce spending due to internal damage of the poles.
We would also save a lot in the investment costs because we would not have to replace poles as often. With the treatment, we are looking at about half the cost of replacing a pole. So we'd save a lot of money which can be used in other areas to improve the efficiency and quality of our supply to our customers. And then our staff would understand the whole aspect of wood, the dynamics behind wood, and how to better approach and continue the maintenance program in preserving the pole life. So in a nutshell, that is what we're doing.
The training is being facilitated by a two-man team from the U.S. company Osmos, whose Director of Business Development, David Skinner, explained the objective of the training exercise.
Right now, the pole has already been excavated, which means they dig out around the pole so that they can inspect below ground. But what they're doing is they're checking the pole for health of the wood. And after they drill those small holes, they then plug them up. As they do this, the goal of the inspection program is to maintain the safety and reliability of the network. He's checking up high because he heard something with the hammer, and he's just investigating to see if maybe it was anything or if it was just kind of a false sound. Now he uses a gauge inside of those holes to see if he can feel anything. if there might be a gap or anything like that. Usually, the wood is very good, but he can tell with that little probe. And this is a wood preservative that they use to help maintain the health of the pole. Very environmentally friendly, but very effective for controlling the chance of anything ever starting in the next 8 to 10 years, say. Pole has been safety inspected, remedially treated, and should last until the next cycle when they inspect it the next time, which will be 8 to 10 years from now.
This country's youths are being encouraged to learn more about the things which can negatively affect their health. This as the Allied Health Services prepare to host a teen summer workshop geared at providing information leading to wise health decisions. Sherry Sargent, proprietor of Allied Health Services, told SVG-TV News that the workshop will be held at its headquarters at Arnersville from August 6th to 8th and will arm young persons with information in protecting their mental and sexual health.
Body image, how you look at your body as you get older, how you view yourself as an individual, how others view your body image, whether it's being slim, fat, how you look at yourself. We are also going to talk about diversity, not only ethnic and cultural diversity, but also things that deal with sexual health, sexual identification, transgender, homosexual, lesbianism, that sort of thing, right? We are also going to talk about substance abuse and its effect on your mental health. We are also going to be looking at teen pregnancy, dating, HIV and AIDS, and a lot of other topics in between, how to communicate effectively, how to do critical thinking and decision making, how to deal with bullying and, you know, other issues that teens would encounter.
Sargent called on parents to ensure that their teenagers are able to attend and promised an enlightening experience.
Parents and young adolescents to really come out to the teen health workshop. We have field trips, we have counselors and other persons from the health aspect of society who are going to come in and have talks with you. It's not just going to be a boring long day, but it's going to be very interactive. It's going to be very relaxed, and it's mostly going to be informative. It's actually information that you can use in your everyday life. It's not just something to put away. So we really want to encourage persons to come out to the program, take part in the program, send your children to the program. It starts, like I said, on the...
Sargent said Allied Health Services will also be providing training for those who are engaged in the care of the elderly from September 8th to the 21st, using both a theoretical and practical approach.
We will be looking at things like diabetic foot care, telling you how to detect early signs of the cubitus ulcer or bed sores, how to do simple alterations in diet for somebody who is hypertensive and diabetic, how to turn them in the bed without causing any injury, how to do simple lifts, maneuvering, how to do simple range of motion exercises, you know, just anything that has to do with caring for the elderly. But for this month, for the month of September, it's mostly just going to be a practical session.